The first thing you want to do is label the colors in your color wheel. I start with red. I go through all the colors of the rainbow. I skip a space in between. So I've done red, orange, yellow, skip green, skip blue, skip violet, and then I go through and I label the tertiary colors such as red, orange, yellow green, blue violet, and red violet. The next thing you want to do is make sure when you are grabbing your paint, you only grab a quarter size amount of paint so the paint does not get wasted. I need to mix up my orange color. When I'm mixing orange, I only want a tiny bit of red. So you can see I just used a tiny bit of red to mix in with that pile of yellow to get my orange color. Then what you're going to do when you're done mixing, you're going to compare that color you made to your color wheel and see how close you got it. That one's pretty spot on, so I'm going to go ahead and I am going to start painting my orange section of the color wheel. It doesn't really matter what order you do this in. I just wanted to mix my orange first. I'm being careful to stay inside the lines, and I'm trying not to get any paint on that silver part of the paintbrush. So now I'm going to do yellow orange, and I'm going to take a little bit of that orange and I am going to mix it with my yellow paint. I'm going to keep mixing. I kind of twirl the brush around to get all that paint off of the brush. Once again, being careful not to get paint on the silver. And then I'm comparing it to my color wheel. I decided it's not quite right. It needs a little bit more yellow. So I keep mixing, kind of doing that twist motion, compare it again. I decided I liked that one better. So I am going with that one. Again, painting really carefully, trying to stay inside those lines, trying to keep paint off of the silver part of the paintbrush. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I need to wash my brush really good. I need to get all those colors off so that I don't muddy my colors. And I'm taking a paper towel and I'm drying my brush really good because I don't want any water in these paints at all. So now I'm doing red orange. Since I'm done with the orange, I'm just grabbing some red paint and I'm mixing in my orange blob because I know I don't need that color anymore. So here I am comparing it. Accidentally got some on the paper, no big deal, it wiped off. It was way too light, so I'm gonna go ahead and add more orange, kind of doing that twisting motion to get all the paint off of the brush, and that looks a lot better. So very carefully, trying to stay inside the lines, I am painting. We're practicing color mixing. We're also practicing trying to paint neatly. I kind of drag the side of the brush along the line. Okay, so once again, washing the brush really good, drying it off with a paper towel, getting the silver part, making sure there is no paint left in the paintbrush. And now I'm just painting the red part of the color wheel. That one is really easy because you don't have to mix anything. And you can see I'm trying to just drag my brush along the edge. There we go. To give myself a neat line. The next one I'm going to do is violet. Red and blue can be tricky. If you don't have the exact right red and the exact right blue, you're going to get kind of a brown color. This makes a fairly decent purple, but you are not going to get a really good match to the color wheel. So I want you to kind of compare it, but knowing you're not going to get an exact match the way you were getting an exact match with the orange. So here you can see I'm just mixing red and blue to get purple. Comparing it, it's really dark, so I added a bit more red. and then I decide that's probably about as close as I'm gonna get. So I'm just kind of dragging the brush along that side line to get that neat line. Another thing you want to remember is if you have a ton of paint on your brush, it's really hard to paint a clean line. So if you've just got so much paint on there, you're going to want to wash and dry your brush so that you can make a neater line. Okay, so now I'm going to mix my red violet. I used a little bit of violet and I'm adding red in there. And I'm going to compare it to my color wheel that I have to see how close I can get, knowing that it's trickier with violet to get those true colors because I don't have the exact right one that I need, but I am adding a little bit more red, and I ran out of red paint there, so I had to grab more. Sometimes that happens. And you can see I got paint on the silver part of the brush. The silver part of the brush has a name. I can't think of it right now, but it definitely has a name. And then always washing my brush really good. If you're not washing your brush and you get paint left behind, it's really going to muddy your colors. They're all going to look kind of brown. So if you notice your colors are brown, it's because probably you haven't washed your brush well enough. So here I'm on my blue violet. So I start with my blue, add a little bit of violet. I'm adding a little bit more. Once again, I'm not going to get an awesome match because of our red and blue paint that we're starting with, but you can still tell it is a blue violet color. So I'm going to finish that, and then I am going to move on to my yellow, green, green, blue, green, all of those colors after I wash my brush really good and dry it off really well. I lied, I'm going to paint my blue one. So there it is. You can see the difference between the blue and the blue violet there.